I done ran up all these bands up in hand and made like 5 bands a day. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, there ain't no stopping me. I done ran up all these bands up in hand and made like 5 bands a day. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, there ain't no stopping me. It ain't no stopping me. Got bands, I'ma run it up, it ain't no stopping me. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, it ain't no stopping me. Got bands, I'ma run it up, it ain't no stopping me.
Now, without further ado, tonight we're talking about this chump, Bernie Sanders. Listen, man, I am so disappointed in this guy, Bernie Sanders. In 2016, when Bernie Sanders first hit the scene, he, truth be told, was the first presidential candidate, even though it was in the primaries, that I ever voted for. I didn't vote for Obama. All right, I was too young in 09 and 08 to vote for him. And I was in the army and I was upset with Obama for what he did to Libya in 2012. So I didn't vote for Obama. The first time I ever voted for a presidential candidate, whether it be in the primaries or otherwise, was for Bernie Sanders. I was a big Bernie Sanders supporter. And that's why it hurts my heart. It breaks my heart to say the things that I'm going to say today. All right, so full disclosure, I did enjoy Bernie Sanders coming onto the scene. We agree on 95% of policies. If he's talking about Medicare for all, we're in agreement. If he's talking about student loan forgiveness, we're in agreement. If he's talking about ending these foreign wars of aggression, we're in agreement. If he's talking about free college, extending public education from high school and now incorporating an undergraduate degree in public education, we're in agreement. A lot of the things that Bernie Sanders gained traction for being a democratic socialist, similar to Martin Luther King, a lot of those policies I was supportive of. So I was a big Bernie Sanders supporter. But after Bernie Sanders was cheated, not once, but twice in 2016 and in 2020, Bernie Sanders exposed himself as a chump, a cuck. You know what a cuck is? A cuck is a man who watches another man sleep with his wife. That's what Bernie Sanders is. He's somebody who will sit there and watch the Democratic Party cheat him because, mind you, especially in 2020, he was winning. He was winning before the powers that be got involved and not only cheated him, but cheated us, cheated the Democratic voters out of electing the candidate which we most identified with. The Democratic Party, the DNC specifically, cheated the Democratic voters. And I got to be specific about this. They didn't cheat Bernie Sanders. They cheated the Democratic voters, people like me, who wanted to take time out on my busy Tuesday to show up and vote for somebody. They cheated us. They cheated us out of the candidate which got the most grassroots support, got the most grassroots fundraising, because mind you, Bernie Sanders did not accept any donations from any major lobbyists or donors. All right. So Bernie Sanders was in line with the people. Bernie Sanders was, hey, are you ready for a revolution? That was Bernie Sanders' message in 2016 and 2020. But after watching the Democratic Party and the DNC specifically cheat not only him, but us voters out of legitimately electing a candidate which aligned with our values, Bernie Sanders bent over. He bent over, grabbed his ankles and said, do your thing. He endorsed the party and the candidate being Joe Biden and now Kamala Harris. He's endorsing the party, which he told us, the Democratic voters, that we need to revolt against. He endorsed, let me say that again. He endorsed the very same party that in 2016 and in 2020, he told us voters that we should be revolting against. Shots fired. Shots fired. He bent over and endorsed that party. that cheated him and cheated us. And now the Democratic Party running on the narrative that democracy is on the ballot. They're not even trying to hide the fact that they cheated not only Bernie Sanders in 2016 and 2020, but now they've cheated RFK in 2024. Now, the difference between Bernie Sanders and RFK is at least RFK had the heart to say, you Democrats are undemocratic. What you're doing is undemocratic. And although I might support your candidate more so than the Republican candidate, I cannot in good conscience cast a vote for a party which is diametrically opposed to democracy itself. RFK had the heart to endorse Donald Trump because the Democratic Party has proven itself to be undemocratic. Bernie Sanders, on the other hand, admits openly that he was cheated twice, not once, but twice. And he has no heart. He has no heart to say, not only have you cheated me, but you cheated these millions of voters who took their time out to spend money on donations, took their time out to knock on doors, took time out of their day to talk stuff on YouTube and spread a message saying, hey, this is a candidate who aligns with our policies, who aligns with our desires as far as where the direction this country needs to go to. They didn't only cheat RFK. They didn't only cheat Bernie Sanders. They cheated us, the voters. The Democratic Party has cheated the people out of democracy. The Democratic Party has stolen democracy from the voters. And Bernie Sanders, instead of standing on what he was claiming, are you ready for a revolution? He tucked tail and run. Not only did he tuck tail and run, he licked the hand, he bent down and kissed the ring of the very same people that cheated him. It's a disgrace. Bernie Sanders is the biggest disappointment in all of politics. And let me tell you why I say that. It's one thing if we disagree as far as policies. You might say, oh, Bernie Sanders was too radical. You know, he was pushing socialist policies. He wanted free college, just like we have free high school. That, you know, nobody ever says that public high school, public middle school, public elementary school, nobody says that that's socialist. But as soon as you talk about college, oh, that's socialist. That's socialist talk. You're a Marxist. You're a communist. See, it's one thing if we disagree about the policies. I can accept that. I can accept that we disagree. We have different ideologies and we don't align on policies. I can accept that. But when we align on policies, we align on philosophies, and you just don't have the heart to stand on it. You're afraid of being shamed. So you tuck tail, you bow down, you kiss the ring without making any demands on his endorsement. Mind you, in 2020, when he was cheated, he endorsed Joe Biden without any demands. They didn't say, okay, I'll endorse you, Joe Biden, but you have to have some type of policy as far as Medicare for all. You have to have some type of policy for public college, public higher institutions, public higher education. Bernie Sanders made no demands for his endorsement. He just bowed down, bent over, and let the Democratic Party have their way with him. That I can't respect. I can't respect because in my eyes, that's a sellout. In my eyes, Bernie Sanders is a sellout. And let me say this, I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent over here. I am not a Republican by any stretch of the imagination. Like I said, the majority of the policies that I supported, that Bernie Sanders supported, like public higher education, Medicare for all, these are policies that the Republican Party are not in support of. So I'm not a Republican. But one thing I can credit the Republican Party with is at least they are democratic. At least they don't cheat their voters out of electing the person their voters support the most. See, the one thing about the Republican Party, the Republicans don't like Donald Trump. Newsflash, the Republicans do not like, the mainstream Republicans do not like Donald Trump. We've already seen in the past few days hundreds, not 800, but hundreds, plural, of Republican staffers who worked for John McCain, who worked for George H. Bush, Herbert Walker Bush. We saw Republican staffers say, we're going to support Kamala Harris. Yeah, they supporting Kamala Harris. But one thing they didn't do, they didn't cheat Donald Trump in the primaries. They didn't stop Donald Trump from running in the Republican Party. See, the Democratic Party, not only did they cheat Bernie Sanders in 2016 and 2020, because they won, especially in 2020, they felt comfortable, they felt bold enough cheating RFK in 2024. At this point, there's a pattern. At this point, they're getting comfortable. There's a pattern of cheating here. It's not like 2016 was a one-off. It was a emergency situation, and they were scared of Trump. No, this is a pattern at this point. They've been doing this for nearly a decade at this point. They've been cheating the Democratic voters, robbing the Democratic voters of democracy for the past 8 years, since 2016, nearly a decade. 3 different presidential elections. Not 1, not 2, but 3 different presidential elections have the Democratic Party stolen democracy from the Democratic voters. Now that's a fact. RFK, mind you, he wasn't originally running as an independent. He was pushed out. He was forced out of the Democratic Party because he was trying to run as a Democrat, and the powers that be, quote unquote, wouldn't allow him to have a fair primary against Joe Biden, who, by the way, dropped out anyway because of the things that RFK was saying. RFK said, hey, Joe Biden's looking kind of old. I think he might have some cognitive issues. He might be suffering from dementia. Joe Biden is not a strong candidate. RFK said this while running in the Democratic Party during the Democratic primaries. Everything RFK said about Joe Biden was correct. And the Democratic Party didn't care. Didn't care about what RFK was saying. Didn't care about the country suffering from having a demented president. Didn't care that the Democratic voters were asking for an alternative. No, the Democratic Party had a plan. They said, listen, RFK, you're too soon. No, we've already got a plan here. Joe Biden, we're going to pull him out. Of course, we're not going to let him debate anyone, because as soon as he gets onto the debate stage, he's going to expose himself and he's going to plummet. So what we're going to do is we're going to hide him. We're going to cheat our voters, our Democratic voters, from having any type of vote or any type of say in the primaries. And what we're going to do is at the very last minute, we'll just swap Joe Biden for Kamala Harris. And guess what? Our Democratic voters won't care. They'll be too stupid to realize that this whole democracy thing is a farce. It's all fake. Our Democratic voters are going to vote for us anyway. They don't care that we've stolen their right to vote. They don't care that we've in federal court argued that we have the right to select whatever candidate we want, and their vote does not matter. We've said this openly in court. Our voters don't care. They're laughing at all the stupid Democratic voters who think that their vote matters. The Democratic Party is laughing at every Democratic voter who thinks that their vote matters. Now that's a fact. That is a fact. They're laughing at y'all. They're laughing at y'all. So you know what? Salute to RFK. Salute to RFK for having the heart to say, listen, I'm going to call a spade a spade. I'm going to call strikes strikes and balls balls. Right now, the Democratic Party, despite the fact that I have a legacy family who has historically been staunch supporters of the Democrats, Right now, the Democratic Party is undemocratic, and I have no choice but to vote for the Republican Party, whether I support Donald Trump as an individual or not. It's bigger than Donald Trump at this point. Democracy really is on the ballot. Democracy really is on the ballot. And if you vote for the Democrats, you are voting against democracy. And I want to be clear. I want that to be very clear. I definitely think that as a person, Kamala Harris is a better person than Donald Trump. But it's not about the individual at this point, not for me at least. For me, it's about the party as a whole. It's about democracy as a whole. The Democratic Party has openly laughed in the faces of all of the Democratic voters. They have not only once, not 2016, not twice, not 2020, not 3 times, including 2024 with RFK, have cheated the Democratic voters out of democracy. They didn't hold not one debate during the primaries, knowing that Joe Biden is elderly, demented, and suffering cognitive issues. They didn't hold one debate. They kicked RFK out of the party completely, anticipating that, hey, we can just switch him out at the last minute for Kamala, and our Democratic voters are so stupid, they're going to go for it. They're going to go for it. They're going to go for it. And Bernie Sanders is going to help them. Bernie Sanders is going to rile up the country, go on tour in 2016 and 2020, telling millions of people, hey, we need a revolution. Hey, we need free college. Hey, we need student loan forgiveness. Hey, we need to end these foreign wars of aggression. Hey, we need Medicare for all. The people who are suffering are like, yes, Bernie, I'm with you. We need to get out of these foreign wars of aggression. Bernie, I'm with you. I want to get out of this crippling student loan debt. Bernie, you're right. If the kid is 18 years old and they have good grades, they should be able to go to college and make something of their lives without taking on tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, which will follow them until the day that they die, and they can't even get rid of it if they go bankrupt. The people say, yes, Bernie, I'm with you. What can we do to support? Bernie said, follow me. And after the Democratic Party cheated them, Bernie Sanders said, yeah, vote for the people who cheated us. Vote for the people who promised that if Medicare for all passes Congress, I refuse to sign it. That's a quote from Joe Biden. Vote for the people, Joe Biden. Vote for Joe Biden, who says, even if Medicare for all passes House and Senate, I will refuse to sign it. Vote for him. Vote for him, Bernie says. Oh, Bernie, you're saying we need to get out of these foreign wars of aggression? Yeah. All right, well, the Democratic Party just cheated you. What should we do now? Oh, you should vote for the guy who's going to send billions, dozens of billions of dollars to not only Ukraine, but Israel. We're going to sponsor a genocide. Vote for them. Bernie Sanders is the biggest sellout, the biggest disappointment. I would say, I want to say, and I'm going to have this personal debate on my own. I don't know who's a bigger disappointment, Barack Obama or Bernie Sanders. Now, Barack Obama, I give him some credit. I give Barack Obama some credit because he didn't promise us anything when he was running for president, number one. For number two, if you read his book, The Promised Land, I've listened to the audiobook, but if you read his book, he says openly his goal of running for president was to invigorate the black masses and the black youth specifically into getting politically active. And if that was his goal, I would say that he was successful. I was 18. I turned 18 in 2009. Y'all can do the math on that. So I was looking up to Barack Obama. So if his goal was to invigorate the youth to political activism, hey, job well done. Not only that, Barack Obama, if you ask me, was the catalyst for the delineation movement. there would be no term foundational Black American. There would be no Kendrick Lamar, they not like us. There would be no strong reparations movement today if it wasn't for Barack Obama. Because Barack Obama, when he was in office, he showed us that he wasn't like us. He showed us that all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Barack Obama showed us that just because he's black doesn't mean that he's going to do anything for black people. And when the black masses saw Barack Obama watch Trayvon Martin get murdered by not a cop, but a civilian, and didn't pursue any federal charges, when we saw Barack Obama didn't do anything for black people specifically, we realized, oh, they're running a scam on us. Who are these people? He's not black. That's the first time I ever heard a black person, my folks, my parents, and that people in the 60s, the 50s and 60s, people who were born in the 50s and 60s, say a black person isn't black. That's the first time I've ever heard that in my life, was under Barack Obama. And I was like, wait, what do you mean he's not black? Well, you know, his mom is white and his dad's Kenyan. And that's when we started realizing, hold on, wait, they're really not like us. There really is a difference. Black Americans, we kind of stand on business over here. We kind of push for justice over here. And these other folks are just happy to be here. These other folks are pushing LGBTQ and pushing immigration. They're not really pushing anything for foundational Black Americans. Barack Obama was the catalyst. Really, he was the catalyst for the whole delineation reparations movement. So I can only fault Barack Obama so much. But the fact that he didn't do anything for black people makes me wonder, who was the bigger disappointment, Bernie Sanders or Barack Obama? You ask me, Bernie Sanders is a bigger disappointment than Barack Obama. You ask me. Let me tell it. Barack Obama, Bernie Sanders is the biggest disappointment in all of politics, if you let me tell it. Because I actually supported the things he was saying. I actually supported his policies. And I feel like I was lied to. They're laughing at us. That's when I realized they're laughing. This is all a game. It's like George Carlin said, it's a big club and you ain't in it. They can literally select whatever candidate they want. Your vote doesn't matter. They switched out an 80-year-old demented Joe Biden for Kamala Harris. Nobody casted a vote for either one of them, and their voters don't have a single word to say about it. The Democratic voters won't say a thing about the fact that democracy is dead under the Democrats.
I done ran up all these bands up in hand and made like 5 bands a day. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, there ain't no stopping me. I done ran up all these bands up in hand and made like 5 bands a day. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, there ain't no stopping me. It ain't no stopping me. Got bands, I'ma run it up, it ain't no stopping me.